Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic week. PMO, our head of marketing, and we have an amazing guest this week that I know the community is excited about. So joining us today are Ricardo, Steve, and Antonio from My Neighbor Alice. Hi, everyone. How is everyone doing?
Hello.
Really good, thank you.
Amazing. All right, so let's do some introductions. Could each of you take a moment just to introduce yourself to the community, sharing who you are and your role within My Neighbor Alice? Antonio, why don't you go first?
Yeah, Antonio here. For those who already know me, I usually introduce myself saying that I'm Italian. I won't do that today. But yeah, I live in London. I have an engineering background, specialize in management and business, and hold the role of business director in My Neighbor Alice. So basically taking care of business development.
Cool. I'm Ricardo. I guess people also already saw all of us around, but I'm CPO at Alice. So essentially, make sure that we define and we bring to completion the vision of My Neighbor Alice as a first fully decentralized game. I actually come from a blockchain background. It's more than 8 years that I work on blockchain. And yeah, this is pretty much it. I just try to make things fun and have them connected on the economic side.
Yeah, and hey everyone, glad to be here. Thanks Claire for hosting, and also Guillermo. So my name is Steve, and I have a very complicated German surname that neither Ricardo nor Antonio can pronounce. So I'll spare you the details.
Hassenflug.
That's wrong. So no. Someday you will learn. So I'm the game director at My Neighbor Alice, leading all the things game development, and I'm the creative counterpart to Ricardo and Antonio in a way. And I'm tuning in all the way from Berlin, Germany. Myself, I come from a computer science background and have been in game development since over 13 years, having worked on a ton of games from Angry Birds to DreamWorks Trolls and everything in between. And I've been fascinated with crypto ever since Satoshi blessed us with Bitcoin. And since the last few years here, I'm working with my passionate team here at Alice, and obviously also our wonderful colleagues in the Chromia ecosystem to make the Web3 dream of fully on-chain games a reality. So thank you.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, the portfolio of everyone here on screen is just fantastic, and I'm so excited for our community to get to know everyone a little bit more. So yeah, I'd love to introduce the project so that everyone is up to date. There are so many incredible new things coming on. So My Neighbor Alice is a Web3 game that is challenging the industry of a new era of gaming with an open world experience on Chromia. Explore, farm, fish, craft, and participate in community building activities across the neighborhood. But this is not all. You can even get free land for testing the game at alice.com/play. So be sure to go and check that out. Also, if you want to join in on the fun, be sure to get in early to really feel a part of the journey and the development of what My Neighbor Alice is growing into. After the launch of their beta season 2 within exactly 2 weeks, and as of yesterday, the fully on-chain multiplayer game announced a huge milestone. My Neighbor Alice surpassed 1 million transactions. This is a phenomenal achievement. So firstly, a huge congratulations to the whole team. And from everyone here at Chromia, we are overjoyed and thrilled to celebrate with you and be celebrating alongside you. I can't wait to hear more from the team, not just on the benefits and updates of the launch, but also to discuss your long-term vision, because this truly is the beginning. I'm really excited. So firstly, Ricardo, what would you like to hear that you surpassed 1 million transactions within 2 weeks of the launch of beta season 2? Are you going to celebrate this amazing achievement this weekend?
Maybe. I think that in Web3, we are focusing a lot about transactions, but actually we have the opposite. We try to keep the transaction down. 1 million transactions are a lot, but if we look into making a game that cut the millions, like the Web2 players, the normal players, then what we should do is not make as many transactions as possible. It's actually trying to make the least amount possible so we can fit more people. And so, yeah, I mean, maybe I will celebrate, but probably maybe on the weekend we celebrate. On Monday we sit and we find ways to actually make them less. And that's actually that we want to make it possible. Yeah, there is something as performance as possible and keep as many players as possible. But cheers in the chat.
I think your audio is lagging a little bit, or it is just me?
Yeah.
I can hear too.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we can move to the next question, Claire.
Sure. Well, so I am a huge fan of David Ogilvy, being in marketing, PR, and everything. That really just fuels my soul. But David Ogilvy famously said, "You're not advertising to a standing army; you're advertising to a moving parade." And people are coming in and out of the market all of the time. So throughout this discussion, we're going to be really getting into the depths and the details as to why the loyal community of this on-chain activity-based game is different, and why players are coming back day after day. So although we are trying to reduce the transactions, it just shows how popular My Neighbor Alice is, and focusing on discussing the team's motivation and goals for the future too. So it is fantastic to really have this opportunity, and just to keep everyone as well, everyone who is listening, there is an opportunity to win some USDT at the end. So be sure to keep your eyes and ears open for how to win right at the end. So let's not delay. Let's get started by diving in the deep end. Let's talk about the community rewards and the introduction of your new economy. So for people who aren't familiar, Steve, could you explain to us what the new economy is and how it differs from previous in-game currency systems?
Of course. So I think it helps first to establish a bit of context here, because what makes our game special in general, even before we did the basically the restructuring of the economy, is that we are a player-driven economy, which means that every item that is minted in game, every token that is minted, comes from players that actually play the game. And with this comes an open economy, which also means that almost everything that exists in the game as an item, not 100%, but we strive to have almost everything as tradable as possible, can be traded and bought and sold. Players can buy and sell them from the marketplace that we have in game. And obviously they can be traded for profit or not. So that's very important as a context, since we have an open economy. And for Beta Season 2, what we did before is that the Björn tokens, as they're called, they were minted out of thin air, more or less. So basically, if you spend time in the game just idling around, you got some tokens. And now the big change that we did is that every land that exists in the game has a certain amount of tokens locked inside. So imagine it kind of like gold or oil locked in soil, right? And you need to actually go to the land and do something to extract that. And that's the big change that we did. So basically what we want is to have players that actually play the game. They get rewarded with those tokens, and they need to continually play and do quests. So for example, we have things like we have an NPC on. An NPC is like a character that stands on your land, and he gives you quests, and he says, hey, give me 2 stone. And then maybe you give him 2 stone, which are tokens that we have in our economy. And what we make then is that we extract these tokens out of your land, the Björn tokens, and you get them. And that ensures that we have a finite amount of tokens ultimately, but the extraction horizon for this is super long. And yeah, basically it was a huge change to go from I would say, almost unlimited token system to a finite token system. I think it was the biggest change.
Wow, fantastic. So, I mean, that all of those features are in place to make sure that the value is maintained. But I did see that there is a way to earn free Björn on the land through quests as well. So would you be able to share with us what motivated the addition of these new reward systems? Maybe Antonio, you could share?
Sure. I mean, ultimately, if you have an economy, a great game, but an economy that is broken, the game is not going to work, right? So mainly Steve and Ricardo spent quite a lot of time in designing a system where it's not really free Björns. You need to put some effort in the game to actually extract this token from your land. And everything is designed in a way that people are incentivized to play, to spend more time in crafting items and show off potentially also within the game. And this is coherent also with one of our pillars, that is try to design the game in a way that is can have also have some strategic component within it, because usually strategy thrives when you have limited resources. So if you live in a world where you have infinite resources, you can do whatever you want. So no need to think about making a choice or choosing between different options. While if you are, in our case, in a limited environment, then that is when strategy thrives. And this is also a way also to limit, for example, bots, because you don't get anything out of playing if you are just botting stuff. So it's very coherent with how we design the gameplay. And of course, it's an incentive system, a reward system for people that spend more time within the game.
I found it very, very interesting, and also especially because this is what you said about giving the chance to players to be more strategic, and it actually reminds me of some should we call it Web2 games, such as Age of Empires or even a Catan game, which is actually a board game where the resource management is actually one of the big parts of the game, like making savvy decisions. Well, I'm interested to hear what would you say is the advantage, or how does a player can become more strategic, or what kind of value can what would you guys recommend players to actually leverage that the strategic possibilities that this new economy brings?
Sure. I can take this. So basically, what we did, what you can also see in game, is that we have different buildings that represent different occupations, you could almost say, in the game. So for example, in our game, you can fish, you can farm, you can craft, right? Mm-hmm. And we've added 3 buildings that represent, for example, we have a fishing building. And the fishing building gives you quests that relate to fishing. So if you really like the fishing mechanic in our game, you can get these buildings and get quests, and then you get more Björn in return, so more of those currency tokens, in order or in exchange for doing fishing quests. So, and back to your analogy of Age of Empires, it's you can strategize in a way that, first of all, what you like to do in a game, and then also what you think you're good at in the game. Because fishing is a bit more a mini game that requires dexterity and a bit of skill. And for example, mining resources is more like doesn't require that much skill. It's just something that you do. It's a more like relaxing activity. So I would say the way to strategize is to figure out what you like to do in Miner by Alice and what really speaks to you. Because ultimately, specialization is a big part of our game, and we're going to continue in that direction. We don't expect everyone to do everything. And it's also goes back to our open economy. So for example, if you don't like making your own tools, which you need to get certain things done, for example, you need fishing rods to catch fishes, but maybe you don't like to craft those tools, you can just go to the market and purchase it from another player who really likes crafting those fishing rods. This all relates back to the open economy, and relates back to one of our goals, which is a sustainable and evergreen game that runs basically for decades to come, right?
So sorry, I just wanted to add that sounds like more and more is mimicking the real life, real economy, real all in game and all on chain. So yeah, it's pretty impressive. Claire, back to you.
Yeah, this is actually, I know we're using Web2 gaming like other examples, and it actually reminds me of Amazon's New World. When we all went on there, it was just overwhelming. So many people were farming, and then all of a sudden the trading systems just really kicked off, and the rare items and things like that. So I guess I have a question about like the future plans of the new economy beyond crafting and beyond fishing. Is there any exclusive alpha we can perhaps share with our listeners right now about the future of this economy?
I think that rather than saying we are not here to revolutionize. I think that's something that we always say internally. We're here to improve things. So in the economy, we have a very clear idea of where we want to go. and tomorrow we will not just change it and propose something different, because we really know where we are going and we really know what we want to develop and how do we want to develop. So you will see things that are more evolutionary rather than revolutionary. And I think there are a lot of tools and a lot of mechanisms that we want to attach. But in general, what Steve said, I mean, we need to give specialization. I believe that economy is a byproduct of specialization. If everybody can do everything, like if everybody could build their own computer, if everybody could build their own car, if everybody could prepare their own Michelin star meal, you don't need economy. You just need to grow your stuff, transform your stuff and have everything. And that's a bit the issue that there was in Alice at the beginning and that there is in many other games, that you have enough time to craft everything you need in the game. But the solution is not to limit the player. The solution really is to give more things the player can do. So that's something that we're working and that we will work. You need to use your resources, your time to do something that fulfill you rather than crafting everything. And this is done by specialization and by giving you good time. If you spend good time interacting with the neighbor, crafting your plot, then you are fine spending some time, because that's where you get the good moment, and this fosters the economy. Because then, we have Alice and Chill is like a game session that we have in every week in my neighbor Alice. So you can actually have one this afternoon in few hours, and there are all the people playing. And then we wanted to create a sort of stadium with all the benches, and so we start buying benches for people that creates it. So really, the idea that we had is to recreate the macroeconomic movements that there are in the economy. So I produce the bench, you produce the fruits, and all these micro they're called it's called microeconomics. So like these effects of demand and offer. I want to have a bench, I want to offer a branch, and so forth. Actually have a lot of repercussion in the macroeconomic, which is something that we want the players to craft. That's why Alice is power to the players, and we say that the Alice Archipelago is crafted by the players, is shaped by the players. We are just giving these macroeconomic balances that define what you can do and how long does it take to specialize, and then they all balance according to how they enjoy the game. So you will see more of this, and also we will we're already working on better, more natural balancing mechanism. At the moment, the balance of some stuff is not really done, it's like get left to the market. But for example, we would like to link Bjorn to Alice in a dynamic pricing discover way, which is essentially how Uniswap works. So I can put Alice and get Bjorn out and vice versa. And this requires a very careful design economy, which I think is what we have and what we tried in this season. Hope I didn't get too much philosophical, but
No, I think this just shows how passionate you are. And
that's what we like around here. I mean, let's get into the real core.
You have to put the pacifier in my mouth when I have to stop.
No, I think I'm sure the audience loves it. And but I have a quick question. This is totally spontaneous, but if I was to go into My Neighbor Alice, what's the likelihood of me coming across team members from My Neighbor Alice just exploring the open world?
Like a team member. I think,
seeing you guys
on a Saturday morning for sure, because I play a lot. Like all Saturday morning, I just play. Definitely later in a couple of hours, you will see all of us around. I think there is always somebody. We want to work on tools to find out better people, to better find people in the game. But I mean, the nice part that we are having now, that compared with maybe a few years ago when the game was not as big, is that now you go in the town and you find somebody and you can team up, and if you go in the chat, there is always somebody there, and that's super cool. It really feels like a live game, which is what we are targeting ultimately, right?
Yeah, and I want to add to this, I guess someone of us is always online, and I'm online every day, at least a few sessions. Because for me, a very important concept which talk to death about internally in the team is what I call dog fooding. I think it's very, very important that you use the products that you build yourself to get an understanding on how users actually behave with the tools that you build. Because sometimes as a developer, you just have a completely different kind of point of view on the product that you're building because you see it every day, right? And you see it from almost through the different side of the screen, if that makes sense. So I think it's very important that you sit in front of the screen and experience all the pains, all the pleasures, all the experiences yourself. And this extends to the whole community that we have. So I try to immerse myself a lot to community. So shout out to everyone who's listening from M&A. We're always there, we're always listening. I'm always trying to be there for people and get their feedback and everything in. And I think this team strives to just provide the best experience that we ourselves would like to see from a fully on-chain Web3 game, right? So that's very, very important.
Can I say stop the chat to all the Alice people because I see them in the listeners?
Yeah, I would say that one of the most, especially, I mean, I always saw that community, my neighbor Alice community was very strong with very, very close ties. But I would say that since the release of beta season 2, and especially on Twitter, it's amazing how many people are spontaneously sharing their game experience and sharing some of their actions and sharing how I would say overwhelmed of how open, beautiful, and fun the game is, and everybody sharing videos and sharing GIFs and sharing and getting more and more creative with designing their own assets. So yeah, I mean, definitely what the shout out to the my neighbor Alice community, because it is definitely empowering the game and making it what it is, because it is for them, right? It's you are the community, and the community is you at the same time.
This is very good, and it's what we bet when we launched a token in 2021. We could have get a lot of players that were there for the tokens, for the personal interest. We could have really trying to like I said, put a lot of transaction, put a lot of people that were not caring, or maybe just make a game that was Web 2 with a bit of NFTs. Instead, I mean, first of all, out of respect for the investors, and also for, because I believe in this in the long term, we wanted to build something that is fully decentralized, and Alice is the only game multiplayer that today is fully decentralized. And at the same time, we wanted to build with the community, which is better said than done, right? In order to really be with the community, like Steve has said, that you have to be with them in the chat, you have to talk with them. And we really have a core of super strong, super tight community that we want to grow little by little. We don't want tomorrow to have like 10,000 people that don't know about Alice, that don't have the spirit of Alice. We want to build, because at the end, being a multiplayer game, the community is key. Like the game, like, I don't know, this is really our slogan. That's, I mean, it. I don't know if there are many people from Chromia that came through the Chromia channel. Our slogan is power to the players. We want to empower players, which also is the slogan of Chromia, is power to the public, which is very tight.
I think on that note, it's a good segue actually for discussing the Alice airdrop party. So you guys have been rewarding your community members, and it's evident to see that people are just keep coming back regardless whether they're being rewarded or not. But I mean, I've always been a fan of airdrops, obviously. To me, I get the same feeling when I go to the gym and I get a free smoothie. It kind of makes me feel like just showing up, I'm getting rewarded. And there was mentioned earlier about like you can even just be stationary and you're getting rewarded in some way. But consistently putting in the work to get that, to get these rewards, it makes people feel happy. And I can see that within this community as well. People are coming back because they're happy, but my neighbor Alice has something that is even more exciting. So the Alice airdrop party sounds like something we shouldn't miss out on. Can you tell us a little bit more about the purpose of this event and what inspired you to create it?
I can take this. First of all, we just found out who is the farmer here. So you know that Claire is gonna farm points in our airdrop party. Yeah, I mean, as Riccardo mentioned, our vision is power to the players, and since inception, we have been trying to design the game with the aim of having something that is community driven. So based on this, basically, we released in collaboration with an external partner this new, I would say, product within Alice World that we call Alice Rewards Platform. And the first event is what you just mentioned, that is Alice Party. So it's basically a way to reward our community that play the game, engage with quests, both in-game and off-game, and that are rewarded to do so. In general, the marketing literature books, Kotler is famous to say brand positioning is all about stealing a piece in the mind of people when it comes to positioning your brand. And usually companies do this by putting a lot of dollars in advertising, like on social media. We haven't, I would say, never spent any money in advertising. We, in the spirit of Web3, we prefer to reward the community, the core community, and make it grow. Just because they co-develop basically the game with us. So this platform and these events that we are doing and we will keep doing in the future are coherent with this basically approach.
Could you share what the exclusive rewards players can expect to earn from participating in the airdrop party?
Okay, so you want some alpha now? So
yeah,
I'm not sure what we disclosed already, but I mean, being part of this program, for sure, there is basically a leaderboard and there is a rank, and people will get some Alice token. But if people join the game nights, we already had one last week, if I'm not wrong, and we're gonna have a couple of more. They will get some very exclusive in-game asset. I'm not sure I can disclose which asset, but I can say that if you love partying and dancing, then for sure you're gonna like this asset.
Okay.
It's
I mean,
a
I'm a
nice party
dancer,
after all,
so.
So it's perfect. You need to be there next game night.
Absolutely. So for newcomers coming to the game, how can players join the airdrop party? Could you explain? And also, well, I'm going to be cheeky here. Can you reveal any secret tips for maximizing the rewards during the event? Steve, maybe you can share some information here.
Sure. So to join the airdrop party, it's super easy. You just go to our website, myneighboralice.com. You sign in with your favorite wallet. We recommend MetaMask, of course. You go to the rewards tab on the top, and from there you basically follow the instructions. So you basically need to connect to our Discord server. And if you have any questions, our super friendly community is also here and also on Discord. They will help you get set up. It's relatively easy. And obviously you also need to claim a free trial. I think we still have contingency, so everyone who's watching and wants to check out the game, claim some now, because they're limited for sure. And when it comes for tips, yeah, I think the best thing you can do is really register early and keep an eye on the socials, because something we had done in the first week, which is also a bit cheeky, is that we had a few short-term and flash tasks, if we would like to call them, which only are around for a few hours or only when you join events or game nights and things like that. So only if you're part of the stream or knew a secret passphrase, things like that, right? So so keep an eye on the socials, because we want to reward our active player community, and so immerse yourself, I would say. And I'd like to go on a slight tangent, also philosophical, because for me, the airdrop party relates a lot to what Ricardo said before when it comes to our core community, our contributors, as we like to call them, and how this relates to the airdrop party, which is kind of like an extrinsic motivator, right? Because something I care about a lot as a game designer myself is player motivations and player psychology, right? So there's a thing that you call basically need satisfaction building. And you have extrinsic motivators, which is like the airdrop party and points that you collect and you get some reward, right? It's the same with you go to work. An extrinsic motivator is you get money. I don't do work, or people usually don't do work because they like to work for free, right? But there's obviously people who really enjoy their job and do it by intrinsic motivators, right? And the best thing happens if both of them overlap. And that's something we strive for every day and make better in My Neighbor Alice every day. Because if you just work for intrinsic motivators, that's what people will do, right? I get a reward, I will do this. But the intrinsic motivator is something players will enjoy doing it. So it's very important that both overlap. And you might notice from, doing chores around the household, or, doing work that you really don't enjoy. You do this because you get some reward, but you don't really like it, right? And you burn out and you just don't want to do this. So therefore, it's really, really important for us to overlap these two circles, as I like to call them, because that's where the good bit is. And that's how, things like the airdrop campaign and giving people rewards, but also, being supported by the community and having a game that's really fun and something where you can self-express yourself. I think both parts are super important for a project like us.
Fantastic. I mean, I love the touch on intrinsic motivators, and that kind of leads me to one of your newest features. Although I'm always looking to the future, like many gamers, we're always wanting to connect with people. But one of your features actually surprised me because I believe it's quite advanced. I don't know many Web3 games are at this stage of actually introducing a multi-language auto translator. So when I saw this was added to My Neighbor Alice in the chat system that you guys have, I was actually genuinely blown away, because it just shows that community connection and the player experience is a huge priority to you. And you can see that with everything, the whole team, whenever you guys answer a question, it just comes through so authentically. Perhaps, Ricardo, could you share some insights into the development process behind the multi-language chat feature? And of course, I'm quite curious, perhaps what challenges have you faced?
I mean, in terms of challenges, it's actually quite straightforward to implement. We implemented with some optimization for saving some tokens. Tokens are in AI. Term tokens are sort of shots that you have to talk to AI. But in general, it's quite straightforward. And of course, we use commercial available solutions. I think that the interesting part is how we decided to tackle AI. I think that many Web3 companies went around almost pivoting in no time, saying, we are Web3 AI gamer, and trying to get I don't know, a bit of pump on their market or similar. We use AI for this and other features, but we decided we use AI to support our bigger vision of decentralization. So this, to me, Web3 is decentralized code, of course, is everything without a single point of failure or control. But also Web3 to me is community. And our goal is to put the community together, right? We need to have people to be able to interact with each other. And this was, of course, one problem that we have in the game, because you have people that come from different countries with different native languages. And sometimes even if you speak English, maybe even if you're able to understand English, maybe you're not able to write it down. And this creates a lot of friction. And every interaction between users that is not done, that is a missed because of friction, for us is a problem, because we need the community to be in contact with us and with each other. So this feature is just a natural use of the tools that we have, which is AI and the vision to decentralize and bring power to the players, if I didn't say it already. But really, I mean, I know that sounds like I'm repeating it, but I mean, it's really like our North Star. We're following that. Every decision boils down to this vision that we have.
It's amazing how you're saying that it's such a natural growth to go into this and to really bring the community together. Although there are so many games that just aren't even touching on some of the features that you have introduced. So players are now able to connect completely across the world. Was there something you wanted to add, Ricardo?
No, no.
Okay, well, yeah.
Nevertheless, regarding the communication tools that you explained, which I agree with you, Claire, it's very, very cool and impressive. I guess my follow-up is like, okay, so if you have the multi-translator and you can communicate easily with the whole My Neighbor Alice community, the obvious next question is, you can use it to meet girls or meet guys, right? Whatever it is that you like, right? Do you have any stories reported of, oh, I actually have made like real life friends in My Neighbor Alice, or even I've met my girlfriend or boyfriend, or I mean, if not, if I were you, I would ask right away to see, because there's a lot, a world of possibilities.
I met Steve on My Neighbor Alice.
Really? Like playing the game, you mean?
No.
I wish.
Guillermo is thinking of forking My Neighbor Alice and making a dating version of.
I mean, it's like, okay, let's go fishing, let's go, crafting, let's go. Okay, by the way, where are you from? Do you come often here?
I mean, look, I think this will ultimately happen, because I think in most MMOs there have been stories like this. Especially, I mean, every social circle will have stories like this ultimately. I don't know, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm pretty sure it will happen in the future. I'm 100% guaranteed.
Yeah, I feel that at the same time, the point of Alice is to create a universe of a safe universe. I mean, to me, Alice is the place where you can self-express and collaborate with people. So I really hope that this takes the best out of people, and that actually brings genuine care. And that's actually what we see in the archipelago. Like, we have a storefront, which is a feature that allows you to sell items, but it's highly used for people to present stuff to each other, because they're in need to collaborate. And this sense of neighborhood, I will define this sense of complicity and genuine care, I really hope is kept. And I mean, of course, if there is if some love stories will come out, super happy to hear that. At the same time, I really hope that this kindness is not misunderstood as something else. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, I think something very important to us is also the way I see the Web3 space is often very edgy and hypey, and we try to be, which I like to call the inviting big sister of Web3. You're always welcome to join our community. You're always welcome. Everyone is friendly here. We welcome everyone with open arms.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very coherent with the pillar of Web3, so that is collaboration. So at the end of the day, if you collaborate with other players within the game, you are better off. And if you want to be philosophical, as we are doing in this live stream, they say that what makes a good life is the quality of connection and relationships that you have in your life. Probably is the same in My Neighbor Alice. So if you create bonds and connection within the game, probably you're gonna have a much better experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can, I'm loving your answer, and I totally agree with you, and also getting philosophical as well. I think that it is very, very important, and it is a beautiful value, because there is the idea of, everybody has the idea of romantic love, loving your spouse, your couple, loving your parents, loving your friends. But what about loving your neighbor? Right? And building communities and supporting each other and creating something, a space where everybody can contribute and can create these networks where everybody participates and everybody gives the best of it. So yeah, I mean, a space for creativity and connection with this neighborhood set is I feel it on the love already. I mean, I always see the environment is perfect for that. So,
and the environment tells a lot about how people will behave. You can put me, you can take me and put me in a degen chat, and I will be the most degen person ever. But then you put me in Alice, and I'm the opposite. So I really think that the environment change the way people behave, and was to me like the very nice things that I found out in Alice when I joined is people that were not coming from crypto saying, "But why crypto cannot be a nice place?" Why can't?
Very good question.
So Alice is the good. We want to make Alice the good place in crypto. We want to show that actually crypto is not DeFi. I mean, it can totally be DeFi, but like staking yield fight and bots coming after you, but actually a nice place.
Amazing.
Amen.
Okay. Fantastic. No, this just really makes me happy to see that Web3 is growing beyond what it originally was set out to do. Although it has always been directed towards community, I think the direction of what My Neighbor Alice is achieving, especially conquering the language barriers and branching out across not just America, not just Europe, but beyond. So I genuinely think you are transforming the user experience, and now people will genuinely be able to make friends with people they originally wouldn't have found possible. So you've been ahead of the game, excuse the pun, but quite literally adding features that are game-changing. So this leads me to wonder, are there any plans to expand these communication skills even further?
Absolutely. So I think something that we wanted to do with this auto-translate feature is also to gauge how the community reacts to it. And I think it's been a great success so far. Because, I mean, our ultimate goal is really to make a global audience to be able to connect easier to each other, right? I mean, that's the ultimate goal. We have so many fans also in different time zones in Southeast Asia, in Europe, and everywhere. And I think there's still quite a few quirks to iron out, to be honest, with the system that we have. So to give one example, there's this infamous mistranslation that's happening right now. If you write "thank you," it translates to "you're welcome," which even happens in other languages. So, there's stuff to iron out. So that's something we would definitely will look into to just improve the whole system and make. I mean, it's not perfect, right? There's still some quirks. So we want to make this as good as possible so that certain phrases are not misconstrued. But something that's also important, which I don't think everyone knows, if you enable this auto-translate, you can actually go into the chat and hover over the message to see the original message. So to be sure also yourself that you've written the correct thing, right? And then after that, obviously we're looking in how to expand it from the game translation, from chat to maybe the games translation itself, because especially from our Chinese community, we did Chinese AMA a while ago with Chain Challenger, and we had a lot of requests to translate the game in general. So we're definitely looking into that. And otherwise, we're just collecting a ton of feedback from our players and seeing how people use it. And the chat itself, we're already tweaking and expanding a bit. For example, right now, it's a bit hard to read text in private environments. We just want to make it a bit more smoother to chat in general. So yeah, all of these things we're going to look at for sure.
I mean, you can totally see by what you're explaining, Steve, and by the work for whomever has been following the work of My Neighbor Alice, that you're constantly focused on improvement and bringing new things and bringing more utility to the player. I wanted to ask you specifically about the user interface, because I see that in season 2 you have there are some notable improvements. And I wanted to know a little more about it, and especially what do you think from the point of view of a person returning from previous season to season 2 and finding all these new, all these new visuals? Like, what do you think is going to be the effect?
I think people think it's a different game, really, and it is. I mean, I would be surprised if many things, if there is any line of code really that it hasn't been touched. I think that I would say the rationale behind it and how we did improve the UI, but also I would make an apology to the community at the end. So when we started with Alice, we launched the token, we launched the project. Then we had to understand really what was our unique selling proposition. What is Alice good at? And what is good at is decentralizing. So we have a fantastic, beautiful architecture fully on chain, that of which I'm very proud of. But at the same time, if I tell you how much do you like the blockchain that we have, Chromia, or the software that we have, you don't see it. You cannot appreciate. Like, the best I can give of the blockchain is that you don't see it. So definitely it's not a very strong selling proposition, at least at the beginning. In the future, I'm super sure we will see more stuff on chain happening also outside of Alice, and how easy it will be to integrate with Alice, and we will bank on it 100%. But at the same time, the other thing is the lore and the world of My Neighbor Alice. And we have to make a decision. Do we want to invest hard on making the best game, visually best game, and then put a blockchain after, or do we want to put a blockchain and then put a nice looking game on top of it? Making a blockchain, it's something that nobody ever done. So this to us was really the complex part to make, and the one that most likely was going to take the longest time. And that's why we worked in the last 4 years, 3 years and a half, very hard to deliver. And I think now it's really visible all the work that we have done. And at the same time, in the last year, we started really investing into making the game beautiful. And I think it's visible. I mean, the game is unrecognizable. And with that, by having when you have to move in a new house, the first thing you put the big wardrobe, then you put the table, then you put the chair, and then you put the small items. And UI improvements are things that came a bit later, because it's something that we know how to do it, and we know that we have people that are able to the expertise and the quality and the time to put it in place. So as you can see, the game in terms of UI is getting much better. And when we will release out of the beta seasons, it will be in a state that we consider ready to release. Essentially, it will be great. The thing is, we had to start very early with the blockchain, because that's what was taking us the highest time. So on this, I said I will finish with an apology. I apologize with all the community at the beginning that really went through excruciating login flows, went through a art that was not perfect, and the UI that actually was very poor. But there was a reason for that, and I hope it's appreciated. And ultimately, we work hard on every angle. We just try to prioritize in a way that delivers the product as fast as possible.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about the response from the community to these changes, and
they're actually able to do things easier. So I mean, it's much better, less friction. Many times, we see people dropping because they're not able to pass after a specific task that is not a complex task. It's just like maybe not in the right place, maybe not clear. And we could take many shortcuts to make it easier. We could just fix it easily and then release a new version. But we're really taking a long approach. Like everything we make, actually, if a player wants to make their own quest, wants to make their own world, everything needs to work without shortcuts. So that's really what we are doing.
Yeah, and they have the community channels, right? Their Discord, their Telegram. They can connect with you guys and share their feedback, and I'm sure they want to let you know about these changes and how they feel about it. Yeah, Steve, I think maybe you wanted to add something.
Yeah, I want to add a bit of context from, I would say, the design side, because there's a very important phrase, which is good design, when it's done well, becomes invisible, right? It's only when UI UX is done poorly is that when people notice it. And I think UI UX in general, so the user interface and user experience, is very hard to measure in KPIs or business goals directly, at least. But it will reflect in the KPI somehow, because I think we have so many cool novel features thanks to Chromia. And thanks to the blockchain that we build on, it's, I have to say, in some ways, really poorly explained in the game or even shown, right? So that's what we try to do with Beta Season 2, is to really elevate these features more. So, for example, we have Alice items in the game, which we now call prime items. Before, many people didn't even understand what an Alice item is versus, not an Alice item. So the UI UX is really serving to elevate those features. And then, as Riccardo said, when it comes to visual aesthetics, M&A is still, on the way to find their true identity, but it permeates through everything. So, for example, we changed the font that you read, and just the change of the font changed the perception how you view the game dramatically, right? So it's a very simple change if you think about it. You just replace the font, but it completely changes how you feel about the game, right? And there's tons of these changes that we did. We, as Riccardo said, we touched probably every UI that we could think of. And it just feels much more on par with a Web 2 experience. And I think that's very important also for the public perception of the game. Because if you feel like, I don't know, I think Web 2 gamers can immediately tell if there's quality in the game or not, right? And even though that's not a measurable thing, people can tell. So, and if they see a game that looks good, they're more likely to check it out. They're more likely to invest. They're more likely to, just download it, all these kind of things. So it's super, super important. And to your question, like where can people share feedback and everything? They can do it on Discord. That's the best place. We have feedback channels, and there's tons of feedback from players already. And I'm super happy, and I'm reading every kind of feedback that we get. And one thing I can say, I'm very happy about the feedback, and we are very aligned on what the community feels needs to be addressed. We already kind of feel like we need to address ourselves. So that's very happy. If you know the things that eternally you want to address overlap with the things that community wants, then you're on a really good path. And so please keep the feedback coming. And thank you.
I love the fact that you really are looking at the small details. I mean, the small details are the big details in the end. So really looking at the font, the user experience is not just the interface. It's just every single part that is creating this puzzle. And that is, I mean, as a marketing person myself, and really diving in deep with the research and the data, it really brings this full picture as to what the user is experiencing, and the fact that everyone in the team are constantly in the game, experiencing it for themselves, and then as well creating that feedback loop to make sure that everything is covered. It just shows that this game is just going to continue to grow. It's never going to stagnate. So yeah, I mean, I do want to selfishly ask a question, because although we have decided that I am the farmer when it comes to my neighbor Alice, I think what would be really cool to talk about is the trading improvements that you guys have had. Some of my favorite features as a gamer myself are the marketplaces and trading, being able to own and customize items. And my neighbor Alice has redesigned the storefront for an easier and more efficient trading, which is a major shift. So perhaps could you explain the major changes and their benefits?
Yeah, sure. So basically what we have is, and I think we alluded a bit to this earlier in this chat, we have an open economy. So what it means is we have marketplaces inside the game where you can go to, and you can sell every item, pretty much every item, for either Alice or Bjorn. And you can freely determine the price. So you kind of need to do a bit of price discovery, and especially since we launched Beta Season 2, we kind of cold started the economy and everything. So people are continually figuring out on Discord, in the community, and in-game what something is worth, right? So that's one big, really, really big thing, which might, to Web3 people, doesn't sound like a big deal. But in Web2 gaming, open trading is a really big deal. There is a handful of games that I know that really allow open trading, right? Because it comes with a rat's tail of things that you need to look out for. So you need to build a bulletproof economy in order to have open trading, right? So that's one thing. And when it comes to that, we also have private storefronts, which you can put on your own land. So you can invite someone. I could say, hey, Guillermo, come to my land. I have some stones for you, right? And then we can kind of talk, and maybe we are satisfied with the price, but you don't have to, put it on the global marketplace where everyone can snatch it up and things like that. So there's different ways on how you can basically trade in the game.
Are people bartering already?
Oh, for sure. Every day.
Amazing. So, I mean, this is just the core part of the improvements. But what about the future? What's the vision for the future of in-game trading?
Yeah, I would say we want to extend it a lot. I mean, we right now get a lot of feedback. Like right now, a lot of people trade, and we need to do a lot of UI/UX improvements there. We want to ideally change a little bit on how it's surfaced to players, the whole marketplace. There's a lot of ideas in the room, which would be a bit too much to share now because they're in the early stages. But also custom content we already have. So, for example, a lot of people of our community, Blood Moon, for example, they crafted a Chromia cap and a Chromia hoodie. And it's not just that you can craft a Chromia hoodie, you craft a hoodie, and then you have a patch, and you put the patch on the hoodie. So this is like completely customizable content. You can also put a completely different sticker on it, right? So we have what I would like to call composable NFTs, right? So you can make your own custom designed NFT, and you can have it in black or in red, and then you can add a pattern to it. So you can have a really unique looking NFT that you can basically assemble from smaller pieces, right? So that's something you can then also sell, because honestly, I mean, that's just the beginning of things, right? It's a kind of simple experiment, so to say. I mean, it has been existing for a while, but now people get really used to it, and we see a lot of people crafting these items. But you can extend it to everything. You can extend it to buildings. You can extend it to, I don't know, your land. There's a lot of different ways we can have composable and even mutable NFTs in the game.
Gosh, imagine getting famous in My Neighbor Alice for being one of the top content creators. Like that just seems like a fantastic opportunity that might not have been tapped in yet. Maybe only a few people are doing it, but I know when I was playing The Sims, or if there's like VR chat, like people make full-on careers from creating custom content. So this is really an opportunity for people to get involved, and I encourage everyone who is listening, go and check out My Neighbor Alice as soon as possible, because there are opportunities there that can really just branch out. I'm curious, how do you balance the fairness of it? So in the in-game economy, to ensure that the trading remains fair and also enjoyable for both new and veteran players, how would you say that you guys manage that?
I'll tell you a secret. We don't. The fact is that everything is designed to self-balance, so we don't do it. Also, it would be wrong. Like from a decentralized perspective, what rights do I have to decide if something is balanced or not? So what we do, we have limited resources, and this way we make sure that things rebalance. And this is actually how it works in the real world, right? In the real world, you don't have you only can get X amount of gold out of thin air or whatever. You have to be lucky, hit your ground until you find it. You have to put work, and then you get resources. And that's exactly what we do. I think that something that is interesting, a bit on the philosophy on why do we have a secondary currency and Alice. The way that I see Alice is something for investors, like the first token holders of Alice, where people that invested bought a token expecting a game, and we need to give them a reward. And this reward is essentially gameplay time. And at the same time, the total amount of time that there is available in the game is the value that there is in My Neighbor Alice. So how many minutes people would spend into the game. That is the total value of my game. And this is represented by the Alice token. So if you have a land, you can play. And that makes sense that you can purchase a land with the Alice token. Bjorn, the secondary currency instead, is the time that you spent in the game. Which means, for example, you can be the person that owns a land, but not the person that uses it, because you can rent it out, because you can ask a friend to use it, and so forth. And this is something that happens. And if you are a person, you're an investor, you buy 100 lands, how do you monetize it? Well, then you need to have players that plays for you in the best way, so you can actually hire the best players, and these best players will extract the Bjorn that there are in your land, which are limited and are released over time in a progression that is given by the amount of time you play and you devoted to this specific task. So this way, we can make sure that if you play, you get this Bjorn, you, according to a contract, share it with the landowner and other you keep. And then with this Bjorn, you can decide to play the game or to give it to people that wants to craft other items. So in general, crafting an item is a mix of Alice that goes into collateral, 50% of it. And this actually, again, is an economic measure that shows the amount of Alice token that are used in the game. So if we have this Alice token to sell an item, and then we take this Alice token, dump it on the market, the value of Alice is going down, and there is going to be an inflation of NFTs in the game. And this is something that we do not want. This is something very common in traditional Web3 game. But I mean, again, I think we have a solid economy that's self-balanced. So if a lot of people purchase an NFT, Alice tokens are locked, the total supply of Alice token goes down, the value of these Alice tokens goes up, so investors actually are able to return of the investment. And at the same time, an NFT is also a function of Alice and resources, including secondary currencies like Bjorn. And this is time that you spent in the game to craft an item. And this ideally has to mimic the effort and the time needed to make an item, like in the real world. You have to have a factory, you need to have time spent there, and commercial value that is given by the Alice token that are locked. So this is the way that we don't really balance, but you crafting items lock coins, which means that actually gets more favorable for people that already crafted items to sell them rather than forgetting them or sell them at a low price. Because the main problem that there are in games is that there is an inflation of assets, and more assets you create, the more allies are given to the company. I'm talking again to a company, the more are dumped, the more the coins goes down, the more people buy because it's low price, the more they craft, and this creates an infinite inflation of assets. But by locking the tokens, we are able to self-balance this mechanism. I hope it's clear. I think I repeated that a couple of times because I didn't have it super clear in my brain. But I hope it does it make sense. I hope so, because that's how the game works.
Total sense.
It does make sense.
This we have it. Like, this is how Alice works today. We're not promising things of the future. When we said before, we have a lot of things that we want to build around it, but this core is what you have from this season in My Neighbor Alice. So if you're curious if it actually works, go check it, but it is working.
Yeah, and I mean, and this connects very, very directly to what you've mentioned before about how My Neighbor Alice is like an evolution of Web3 gaming, and how you guys are addressing in such a direct way some of the issues and some of the limitations and some of the things that have affected Web3 gaming in general. One of the things that I wanted, and I wanted to move to a different section and ask you about, because as I said, My Neighbor Alice in a ways represent a Web3 gaming evolution, and you're going to through the direction of a fully on-chain game and a totally decentralized game, which makes My Neighbor Alice a truly unique. I wanted to ask you, obviously, about why do you decided to stand out of the crowd and going with the fully decentralized game as a value or as a distinguished aspect for My Neighbor Alice?
Yeah, I can answer this. I mean, we are on-chain maxi, as we always say. So, I mean, if you take a traditional game and then you just add on top of it a fungible token and some NFTs, then you have the rest of the game that is stored on a centralized server, then you kind of lose the benefit and the premises that you had in the first place of having something that is on chain, on blockchain, so decentralized. So since the beginning, our vision was to, as we mentioned several times, is to basically power to the players. And in this vision, we had to basically find ways to build everything in a way that is fully decentralized. So we want to have a game that potentially can last forever. At the same time, it is owned by everybody and nobody at the same time. And what we do is basically building the tools for our community, for the players, to be then able to create their own content, to self-express in the game and shape the game and build on top of it in the future. And this is only possible if you have the full game that is on chain, because this means that everyone can see how the games works. They can build on top of it. They potentially can fork it in the future and build their own version. So there is no way, there is no centralized levers that we will be able to pull to manipulate the economy or any other part of the gameplay. So this is why since the inception, we have been designing everything in that direction.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and that leads me to the next question, or the follow-up question, which is now, why Chromia, or how is the My Neighbor Alice and Chromia connection here regarding this on-chain approach and how you leverage Chromia mainnet tools? I would like to know a little more about that.
I mean, My Neighbor Alice is born as a project out of Chromia's minds. I mean, it was created by Chromaway. I was working in Chromaway and Chromia at the time, so I was head of development in Chromia. And the idea of Alice is born from the idea that NFTs should not be only about ownership. Everything you know about an NFT is that you own it and that you can sell it. I think NFT should be a bit more than that. I think Steve before mentioned the concept of composability. So you can have a t-shirt where you can put patches, you can change colors, yada, yada. We want NFT that transform, are alive, and actually are really non-fungible and unique. My idea of Alice is that every player in My Neighbor Alice should have an item that is unique, or at least perceived as unique, that nobody else has. If we have a game where everybody can look like each other, then we didn't do enough assets. And we do that not by creating every asset manually, but by giving people the personalization, the customization opportunity.
Yeah. Obviously with Chromaway, I mean, there's the relationship, and with Chromia, now that Chromia mainnet is here, is I mean, I always thought that probably My Neighbor Alice is one of the flagship projects of Chromia, and it is so good to have you know, in Chromia mainnet. And I would say that My Neighbor Alice deploying into the Chromia mainnet has been one of the most significant milestones. I think for both projects, or I mean, I don't want to talk for you guys, but definitely for Chromia, the fact that neighbors, you are coming to Chromia mainnet have been something that we've been very, very happy and proud, and yeah, it's so good to see you, basically, is what I'm saying.
Fantastic. Okay,
It's good
so
to see you too.
Amazing. So we're running towards the end of our session today, but before we get to some questions, some final fire questions, I do want to share, we have mentioned about Alice and Chill that will be featured later on. So I do want to share that I would encourage you guys to really just go ahead and join it. It is the 8th episode of Alice and Chill. Go to their Twitter today at 5 p.m. CET or 11 a.m. EST. Ricardo, would you be able to quickly share with us a little bit about what people can expect for this week's episode?
Yeah, 5 p.m. CET, which is a fancy way to say in 20 minutes. I mean, it's Alice and Chill, so we just play the game and chill and talk and chat together. It's very nice. We have hundreds of people coming, and just about enjoying the vibe. We have Dan, Kaito, that is our host, and it brings the mood, and that's the most important part. It's the mood that you would expect from My Neighbor Alice, really.
It's the place where we share the good vibes.
Fantastic. Okay, so for those of you who are staying tuned to be able to check out how to win $100 in USDT, if you're listening on Discord, LinkedIn, or YouTube, be sure to head to our Twitter and comment on our live broadcasting video post. Basically, the way that you can enter is we want to hear which feature from My Neighbor Alice is your favorite and why. The winner will be chosen based on your reason why it is your favorite. So make your answers meaningful and unique. And I personally will be reading each one. So you have 24 hours to share, and I'll be checking tomorrow. So again, be sure to check out and head to our Twitter and comment on our live broadcasting video post with your favorite feature of My Neighbor Alice and share your reason why. You'll be in the chance to win $100 in USDT, and there will be 5 winners chosen. So thank you, guys. And we're just going to go to some fire questions. Are there plans to expand My Neighbor Alice beyond its current platform, perhaps into VR, mobile, maybe Mac?
We are cooking something that will, I think it will be mind-blowing. It's something that today doesn't exist. I hope it does work. No, I mean, we already have it kind of working, but we cannot disclose much. We will not be on VR, obviously. And then we will not, we did have a mobile version, but it's very complex to have it published as a fully decentralized, fully on-chain game. So we stopped supporting it, but actually there was. So at the moment we focus on desktop. Soon we will have some very exciting announcement that I don't want to jinx.
Okay, well, hopefully you can tell me maybe a little bit later. So maybe actually, is there any alpha for our audience to share? Maybe if there's anything in the pipeline that you can share with our community?
I think an exciting part is that actually, as we speak, we are rewriting the core of My Neighbor Alice with a new NFT technology that works on Chromia. and we'll make Chromia and every product that is made with NFTs on Chromia much faster, like much faster. And we're very excited about it. I think it's a bit like a hair transplant, and at the same time, nobody will notice it. But I think that we are all very excited and very nervous about it because we have to make it work. But at the end, it's like a hair transplant. If you do it, it's because you need it, and it's actually very positive. So yeah. I think you're muted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm so grateful for your time. An amazing analogy, by the way. Love it. So make sure to go and follow everyone on their socials. We've got our little ats here. We've got Ricardo and everyone from the team of My Neighbor Alice. Be sure to check their pages out up on Twitter. Also, follow My Neighbor Alice. Thank you, and a huge congratulations for everything you've achieved so far. Before you go, don't forget, again, go and join the 8th episode of Alice and Chill on their Twitter. It's starting within 15 minutes, so we're ending with good time. And also, for everyone who is curious and wants to join, you can reach out to us on Twitter and by email through our website at chromia.com if you want to find out more about Chromia and our tech. Be sure to also go and check out My Neighbor Alice and their roadmap, and across all of their social media channels for the fun, lighthearted, and phenomenal gameplay updates and much more. Again, Ricardo said earlier as well, they share on their personal pages some alpha and some great opportunities to really get some early information. So thanks again for everyone. Don't forget to share this AMA with your friends and follow us for the latest updates on Chromia's journey, and be ready to start building with us. Head to our website and we will see you next week. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone from My Neighbor Alice, and thank you to the community. You've been awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you around the hood. Ciao.
Appreciate everyone who tuned in. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. All right, that is all for today. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next week. Take care.